Hi, and welcome to Saturday Sabbath. My name is Reiki Master Sharon, and today we're going to talk about mirrors. And this is a very interesting topic for me because when I first came across this idea, I didn't exactly know what it means, and I'm not saying that I'm an expert at all, but these are some things that I found. So, if all is one and one is all, and God is in every living thing, and we're all connected that way, then I believe that we came here to learn and grow with each other. And they say that we aren't attracted to what we are, or we're not attracted to what we want, we're attracted to what we are. And you may look at somebody and think that they're completely different than you, and how would, say you are attracted to narcissists when you're an empath. But the truth of the matter is you guys are opposites. It's like when you look and you take a picture, right? You take a picture, the left or the right side of your, yeah, right side of your face is on the left side's on the right. You look at the photo and you're like, that's not what it looked like when I took it. And that's because it's inverse, right? So when we say that people are mirrors, then they reflect what we need to learn about ourselves. So, like when we're an empath who is attracted to a narcissist, if you're a very highly empathetic person who is attracted to someone who's highly selfish, then there's something that each of you are attracted to each other because you can learn from each other. The highly selfish person can learn empathy from you, and you can learn how to have stronger boundaries from the highly selfish person, right? And you will continue attracting these kinds of people until you learn how to incorporate those lessons for yourself, until it can balance, and then you can have a stable, healthy relationship. But until we are able to look at the people in our lives and decipher what they're there for, we're going to continue bringing in people who are going to teach us lessons. And that's not a waste of time. It's not a waste of time to learn more things about yourself. That's what you're here for. You're here to learn, you're here to grow. So, sometimes people say, oh, well, I wasted so many years of my life trying to figure out this lesson, or being with this person and being in so much hurt and so much pain. Why did it take me so long? Well, in the grand scheme of things, our lives are relatively very fast. We're only here maybe 100 years. That's if we're lucky. Most people will probably die around 80. So when you look at it in that way, and the fact that the Earth and the universe has been around for millions and millions of years, our lives are like a blink of an eye. And we're reincarnated without remembering all of the things that we learned from past lives. If we were to know everything that we and remember everything that we learned from past lives, then it would be a lot easier. But then there wouldn't be much of a challenge in that. But you do have knowledge within yourself from your past lives, and once you become aware of that, then you can tap into that. But there is a certain amount of things that happen in this life before we wake up to that, and it happens at different ages for different people. And some people don't ever realize it. Some people just stay the same. They don't ever learn their lessons, and they just kind of keep floating by in this lifetime and lifetimes prior, and probably going into the next lifetime not really being an active participant in what they're doing. They're just kind of like, I don't know, I'm here and I'm just going through the motions. But if you're here, chances are you have awoken to the fact that you have past knowledge that you can access intuitively by intentionally tapping in. And if you're watching this video, it's because there's a message for you. There's a message to look at the people and the situations in your life and really ask yourself what it would be like to be in their shoes. And this is a hard question because it's so easy for us to look at someone else's situation and be like, oh, well, I know I wouldn't do that. Or I know I wouldn't want to do that. Or I know that this is what they need to do to get out of it. But when we look at ourselves, we don't see, most of us aren't looking at ourselves and asking ourselves what it feels like to be in the other person's shoes. And what, if we were in their shoes, what would we want from ourselves? So say you have a significant other, right? And you see all the things that they're doing. You make all of these excuses for why they're doing the things that they're doing, which you don't actually know because you're not them. You haven't lived their experiences. But your brain will tell you from your experiences how you would react, or what would put you in a position that would make you react that way. And the whole point of this is to look at ourselves and say, what kind of person am I showing up as? If I were in their shoes looking at me, being in a relationship with me. And then I want you to think about how you feel about your significant other. And ask yourself if you would be okay knowing that's how you felt about them and staying. Because chances are you may be able and willing to sacrifice for yourself, and you may see it as you're doing a good thing, that you're being compassionate or loving. But are you being compassionate and loving to yourself? And if you're not, do you really think that's going to make the other person happy? Because I think a lot of people really don't want to be coddled. We don't want pity. We don't want someone to just stay around because they're waiting for us. We don't want someone to just be there but not really want to be there. You know? And I know that a lot of people feel stuck. But the truth of the matter is that you are not stuck. You can leave. You can move on. You can open the conversation up to discussing these things, because until you have these conversations, you're never going to know what they're experiencing, because you can't just fill in the blanks for them. And until you're able to hear them and they're able to hear you, there's no real moving forward. And it's really hard to build anything without a plan. Even before you build a building, there's a blueprint. There's, okay, this is what we're doing. This is how everything needs to be aligned. This is how big the rooms are going to be. This is where the windows are going to be. This is how high the ceiling is going to be from the ground. There's a floor plan before you start bringing something into the physical reality. And if you guys can't agree on a floor plan, then you're going to be exhausting and losing a lot of energy and a lot of resources, right? And sometimes we have this feeling of like the captain has to go down with the ship, right? Like, I never really understood this, but like I understand it in the way of like, if you are the captain of a ship and you have a bunch of people whose lives are in your hands, then it's dishonorable to leave and abandon the ship when you know it's going down without trying to get the other people out safely, right? And then if you do, then their blood is on your hands, right? It's kind of like how sometimes people who are in war, they feel guilty for surviving it and others didn't. They come back and they're like, all these people died and I lived. Why did I live? Why do I deserve to live? And the fact of the matter is, you deserve to live because that was what God had in store for you. You are a person, you are inherently worthy of love and life and happiness. But sometimes the stress of that can make us think that we aren't being honorable. But if you're looking at this in the sense of in a relationship, then that means that what's dishonorable is you're running a ship, and you see an iceberg, and you know that you're going to hit the iceberg, but you don't tell the people on board that you're going to hit the iceberg. You just let the ship go down, and you all go down with it. And nobody gets on a lifeboat. Nobody's able to escape. You just all die. Right? But if you see an iceberg and you're running the ship, then it's your duty to say, hey, I see a problem here. We need to abandon ship. And even if I don't abandon ship, I at least need to give you guys a heads up so that you can start getting into the lifeboats and try to escape. And then after everybody's on their lifeboats and trying to escape, then you can escape, right? But some people will say, okay, everybody's on the lifeboats, but I'm going to stay on the ship because I was, in control of this, and I can't live with the guilt of everything that's happened. And I'm just gonna go down with it because I can't live knowing that people died at my hands and under my responsibility, right? Now imagine you use this scenario in a relationship, right? If you know that there's a problem, they know that there's a problem, you guys aren't discussing the problem, you're not trying to resolve the problem, you're just sweeping the problem under the rug, eventually the ship's going down whether you like it or not. It's just going to go down. And then you're both going to go down and you're both going to drown. And, if you stay in it so long, you're going to die, right? Like, at some point, you get pushed out of things that aren't working, that are toxic. Because life is like a river. Energy is like a river, and it doesn't like stagnancy. You are here to learn and grow and evolve. So if you are just giving up, you're either going to die, and then you're going to restart probably in another lifetime without any recollection of this lifetime, or you're going to learn to survive. You're going to learn that, no, I don't want to die. I want to live. I want to live my life. I want to be happy. I want to honor my boundaries. I want to live a life that is aligned with who I am and what I deserve. I don't want to be in a relationship where someone is lying to me, beating me, cheating on me, or, coming home with diseases. Like, you don't know. Like, there's so many diseases out there. You can't be with someone who is a liability to you, because that's going to bring in a lot of trouble for you. And is it worth it? Just because you decided that you wanted to be in a relationship with this person. No, it's not. Not everything is worth the energy and the effort. Sometimes it's better to be on your own. Sometimes it's better to be abandoned. Sometimes it's better to be abandoned than being with someone who is just looking to control the situation and have control over the situation. Because if you're miserable, that's not going to turn around without something changing. And there are people out there that will love you. And I think a lot of us struggle with a lot of inner wounds from childhood. Somehow we learned that our feelings and our emotions don't really matter. It just matters what our duty is. And that's not true. Because if you are ignoring your own needs, you're not going to be any help to anybody else, because you're abandoning yourself. You might not be abandoning them, but you're abandoning yourself, which is making you abandon them emotionally. You might be there physically, but you're not there emotionally. Or you might be there emotionally, but you might not be there physically. So there's still abandonment when we abandon ourselves. And we abandon ourselves by not addressing the iceberg. Without saying, hey, this hurts me. When this happens, this hurts me. When you do this, this hurts me. And if we don't find another way to navigate these things, then the ship's going down. And that's just how it is. And, not everything is meant to last forever. Some things are just meant to last for a season, for you to learn and to grow from it. And then you move on and you find something better and more aligned. And maybe there's more lessons for you to learn. Maybe you didn't learn all your lessons in the past thing. We are constantly evolving and growing and learning. And it's important to know that everybody is doing the best that they can. But when we abandon what we need, we open ourselves up to a lot of misfortune and a lot of liabilities that don't need to be there. Because your voice is powerful. You can say, no, this isn't how I'm going to live. This is not what I had in store. And it's okay if that means that you end up going to a shelter, or you end up on the street, or whatever. Because I'll tell you what, being in an abusive relationship with someone is a lot worse than not having your own place. Because you can put yourself in a position to where you can find something that works for you. There are people who will help you. There are families, there are friends, there are support systems, there's churches, there's, homeless shelters, there's domestic violence shelters that are there to support people in those situations. So staying just because it's not financially smart to leave is detrimental to your mental health, to your physical health. Because I can tell you, if you're going to be in a relationship with somebody who is just draining your energy, making you feel miserable, making you feel guilty, making you feel unsafe, making you live in this fight or flight kind of scenario where, you don't know if you trust them, they don't know if they trust you, that's no way to live for anyone. So it is much better to leave. It's better to, if you realize that you can't fix it, it's not going to change, you're better off to leave and just be by yourself, or let other people support you and let other people love you, because when you don't allow people to love you the way that you need to be loved, it kills your soul. And it causes chaos, and it causes this dead feeling inside. And it's kind of like living hell on earth. It's like being in a mental prison and a physical prison for some people. Some people can't go and hang out with their friends. They're shamed for hanging out with their families. They're being accused of cheating when they're just going to the store. It's, if there's no trust and there's no love, there's no compassion, you're better off, going to stay with a friend for a little while until you get on your feet, or stay with a family member. But don't feel like you have to stay in something just because you've chosen it. Because you chose it with the idea that you guys were going to build something beautiful. And if you guys aren't building something beautiful, like if I were building a building and the foundation was all fucked up, how am I supposed to build anything on that? If your foundation is not there, then every piece of wood that you buy, every nail that you buy, every piece of siding and window that you buy, all of that is nothing. Because as soon as you try to build on that faulty foundation, it's all going to crumble. It's all going to fall apart. And you've invested all of that money and all of that time into building a building that's just going to fall. You have to address things at the root. You have to address things at the foundation. And you have to be able to look at the foundation, inspect the foundation. Say, is this strong? Is this going to keep us, hold our weight? Because if the answer is no, either you have to rebuild the whole foundation, or you have to completely just let go of the whole project. Let the demolition team come in and just tear it up. Because why invest more in something that's not going to be sustainable? Right? I know this video is getting kind of long, so I'm going to try to wrap it up here, but I do want to encourage you guys to put yourselves in your significant other's shoes and see how you would feel about being that person in your life. Okay? Alright, if you like this content, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'd love to see you next time. Alright, bye-bye.